It's 6:01 p.m., February the 22nd. We have a quorum, so I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order. Shelley, would you like to begin with the roll call?
Thank you, Chairman Mojica. We have Commissioner Mary Lowry. Present. Vice Chair Tracy Click. Here. Chairman Dylan Mojica.
Present.
And we have Commissioner Justin Acevedo online. Are you present, Justin? I see his picture.
Doing the mute search.
Hey, Justin.
He is not muted.
Yeah.
He's muted on his end.
Hold on, he's having technical difficulties.
And Dale, can you hear us okay? Did we check with Dale?
And Chief Walters?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we do have a quorum, Chairman.
Okay, with, well, it looks like Justin had left.
Yeah.
Are you going to consider him present?
Yes,
based on that?
I will record him as present. He did
Okay.
message
Okay.
through the chat.
Okay, so moving on to our business tonight, we have a public hearing and consideration of case number UP-23-01, a request for a conditional use permit to allow a marijuana dispensary establishment in the C3 Central Commercial and Historic Preservation Overlay zoning districts, pursuant to zoning 14-5-18. E4 and 14-5-19D. Located at 290 North Broad Street, assessors parcel number 20803-220. For that, Dana, would you like to take us into all that?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Chairman Mojica. Commissioners, good evening. Thank you for considering this item this evening and holding the public hearing as well. As you mentioned, this is a request for a adult use recreational marijuana dispensary as opposed to a medical marijuana dispensary. This would be, there's one existing in the community that received approval probably a year and a half ago down next door to the Tractor Supply, Mojave Cannabis. Your zoning code authorizes up to 2 adult use recreational dispensaries within the community. It also specifies up to 2 medical licensed dispensaries in the community. And just to give you a quick recap of why that is, when the city was writing their ordinance for to address dispensaries, one option was to include a restriction on the number of them. The city council at the time, and a recommendation I think from Planning and Zoning Commission as well, recommended let's look at doing 2 dispensaries just so we have some competition in that market in Globe and not one sole captive dispensary. So that said, also why we have 2 medical and 2 recreational is the idea and the goal is ultimately for them to be dual licensed or have 1 dispenser, 2 dispensaries both being both dual licensed to sell both medical and recreational. And that would be the capacity in the city for the foreseeable future. So anyway, I'll hop right into the staff report. As you know, conditional use permits will run with the land. Now, these dispensaries are a little unique because they also are fixed to a license, Arizona Department of Health Services license. So if that, among other criteria, are maintained, then the license, your use permit should council approve it would expire or would be void due to lack of compliance with the licensing requirements. So just giving that nuance to this type of use permit, but it does run with the land as long as somebody with a license comes in. You have to do a background. We haven't really had that scenario where we have to look at swapping of the light, somebody moving into an existing CUP location or something. But anyway, I'm getting into the weeds, but it does run with the land, stay with that building, as long as it's maintained in compliance. Requires public notice and public hearing, which we've advertised this meeting this evening, as well as another public hearing before City Council for next week, in both the newspaper and posted on the building front on the property, and then also mailed all property owners within 300 feet of business location. And then finally, as you know, conditional use permits are just a unique, are intended to grant approvals or have a provision to provide approvals for unique uses that might impact adjacent properties. So that said, for the purpose of protecting those properties and ensuring they can work harmoniously in the neighborhood and the surrounding. This is the location right here on Broad Street. The prior medical marijuana location that was approved back in 2012 and has since expired or been vacated. It would be right at the corner of Mesquite. This location you see is one building in from the old historic bank. And all within the C3 zoning district, as well as the HP Historic Preservation Overlay zoning district. It isn't allowed use in the C3 district. And then there's a blow up of that location. It's a 2-story, older historic type. Right off the corner. On the left, you have the floor plan, basically outlines the areas of use. This being the front entry, this doorway would be right here, an entrance into a seating area and check-in waiting area. And then my understanding from the applicant, then they have access into the viewing or the product sales area, which is this green area. And then the dispensary sales reps will be on the opposite side of the counter, providing transactions. And then that blue area is the area that's strictly for that secured for the business owner and employees, as well as the area beyond secured storage area and offices. Applicant did provide just a slightly more detailed plan. Floor plan. It just has furniture shown, so I just thought to stick with the basic color elevation. There would not be access upstairs, and again, everything in blue is secure. Part of the approval process, should council wish to approve this, is for the applicant to provide a detailed security plan, just explaining how it's monitored, how the products are secured in a way that will be accessible to anybody besides employees and so forth. And we have a very similar security plan for the existing cannabis dispensary. Very similar information is required by the Department of Health Services. We basically mirror and just ask for essentially copies of that same information that they're required to provide for our records. And then the city also has a business license process that is more involved in this license, including background checks and another heightened level of review and scrutiny for the applicants. Now on the right-hand side, obviously the building elevation. This is the proposed sign they'd like to locate on that window. The dispensary is not allowed to have any visible products from the exterior. So in all likelihood, that would be blacked out. The glass would be blacked out and not able to see. Or as you see, they have a seating area. So as long as there's no marijuana products visible, they would be in compliance. If there is any advertisement of marijuana type of products visible, then they would have to obscure that glass so nobody could see it. Are there any questions regarding the floor plan or the site functions or the floor plan functions from the commission?
This is probably irrelevant for what we're really discussing today, but if I recall correctly, this building has a basement, correct?
I'm not completely familiar with all the floors. The applicant is in the audience and available to respond.
Yes, it has a basement.
And presumably used for storage and so forth.
Correct.
Okay.
And it won't be used for the dispensary really.
Do you want to jump up to the microphone
Sure.
and tap it, make sure it's on?
Where is it?
There
Okay, so the basement is, when you're looking at the floor plan, it's in,
Is that on?
Okay. Anyway, so the basement is in the floor plan, so if you look back where it has those back stairs, right there, there's a trap door that you would pull open. And that would let you down in the basement. And if you didn't know it was there, you'd never know it was there. And down there, we just have storage. I wasn't planning on using it for the dispensary portion, just for storage, and because it's there and it's neat, we'll leave it. But it would be an area that employees would be going to.
I just asked for two reasons. Because first off, it's not very common to have a basement in this area, so you definitely are lucky for having that. But also, it wasn't necessarily depicted on the floor plan, so just curious about what that basement area would serve. So I understand you see that after that.
And if I could, Chairman, to that point, there's obviously a second level as well. That's not a part of the dispensary as we understand it, unless it's going to be strictly storage and secure. Should they come in with a different use on that upper level, we'll review and kind of understand how does that play into access for an upper level if it's a different business or what have you. We would look at that at the time and make sure that the use permit is proper to allow for that additional use on a different floor.
So it kind of looked, maybe this is just a bit of overlap, but the secured employee area only, does that run upstairs or is that still on the first floor?
That's still on the first floor.
Still on the first floor? Okay.
Yeah, so no employees would be going upstairs, that would not be used for the dispensary.
Okay.
It has, yeah, there's a little door. Maybe the second one too.
I had to huddle, and I have to track the beginning of my business as well. So that must have been something they did.
I actually did research it, yeah, I guess they used to play poker down there. And
Yeah.
Are you planning to black out the windows then?
No, what I'm planning to do is, so if you look on the floor plan,
Yeah.
when you walk in, Can I walk up there and show you? It might be easier.
Sure. I think, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
It'd make a lot more sense. So when you walk in and you're right. So right here, there's gonna be a glass wall. This is the glass wall. And so this door here would be for employees to go back this way. This one would be for people who have to buy the product.
Okay.
And then, so this would be tinted
Okay.
here, so you cannot see any product. So this is tinted, but this would be open so people can see that it's here. You come in, you have your sitting area. When you want to come in, you walk in here and you cannot see through any product.
That's good. If I may, that's nicer for the downtown walking appeal because this looks very nice here in the front, little seating area and decorations. It must be much better than blacked out windows as you're walking downtown,
Mhm.
so that's good.
Yeah, that was my goal, so that you can still be able to see it, you don't just see, just what's in there.
Did you want to be shown?
It's also nice with the patrons who are inside, you know, they're not too claustrophobic or in the dark when they're in the waiting room, so that's pleasant.
And then both doors would go in, so they would be basically push a button and then it would open. So if somebody came into the dispensary, they come in the waiting room, but they cannot get to the other side to buy until they're checked in and ran to come in. They come in the building and sit in the waiting area, and then people check in. And then that door, you know, they hit the button, it's just a maglock. It opens, they can go inside.
Sorry, Dana, if we kind of digressed with a couple of nitpicky questions. They were more curiosities than you know, important matters, but it did give us some context on the layout.
Very good. We're happy to come back to if there's additional questions from the commission. I'll continue on then. So staff is recommending this proposal meets all the distance separation requirements, more than 100 feet, which I listed in your staff report, more than 100 feet to a church. Same, not located within 500 feet of a school, and or 250 feet to a residential. I think I have those areas listed again in the report. And then the other dispensary, the existing CDP, is I think 2-3 miles away from this location. So it does meet all the locational requirements, city zoning code for that reason. Before I get to the motion, I just want to let you know there staff did receive one letter, which I forwarded to you this morning. I hope you might have had the opportunity to see your email, but I'll just quickly show you the letter, and it's in support of the request, but it's identifying parking issues in this block of the downtown. If anyone, I'll just read it to the record. Don't know if anyone from City Hall ever drives through 200 block, but if they did, I would hope they would notice the severe shortage of parking on that block. 200 block North Broad is very densely populated, and there is not enough parking to support the existing businesses. When the medical marijuana dispensary opened at the corner of Broad and Cedar, I witnessed a substantial increase in car traffic. Keep in mind, this is medical. A recreational dispensary obviously will have more traffic. This was also before the doctor's office, that's I believe across the street from this property, was open. A vast majority of the daytime parking spaces on that block were taken by the patients and employees of that office. And yet another new business is scheduled to open shortly in that block as well, creating even more demand for very limited parking. Oftentimes there is no parking available for my employees when they come to work in the early afternoon. And this is from the Farley's pub owner. I have several elderly customers with mobility issues who often have to circle the block repeatedly waiting for a spot to open. That being said, I have no objection to the dispensary as long as parking contingencies are put in place. Customers will likely be there for a short period of time, so I would suggest City provide 2 dedicated parking spaces solely for the dispensary. just from staff's quick response is that we have, and Paul may know more about the ongoing parking or historical parking issues in this particular area. I've heard things, but haven't had any specific work.
Mr. Commissioner and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, as we progress and as we grow and add businesses, it will always impact the parking. It's free parking, it's public parking. And it's a good problem to have. We are in the process of doing a study of all of downtown, including the parking, and not only identifying more parking areas, but helping people define those parking areas, make them more visible so they know where to go. They're not afraid to get a little bit off of Broad Street. So I think that the impact of this, because of the short period of time that people may be in there, I wouldn't see it as a hindrance, but it does add to the long-term challenge of parking. But it is on our radar. It was a very important piece. 1/3 of our strategic action plan for council was a downtown plan to help mitigate this. So help is on the way, although I know it's a struggle.
To Paul's point, obviously a detailed study, who's using what spaces where, what's employee versus patron and so forth. Obviously, we want retail in our downtown. That is the thing that we really want.
And Dana, we had the Commissioner Quick had a question.
My question is just the building, the Silver King building, and that parking lot down like across from it.
Yes.
Is there any kind of time frame on that?
They're not at this point. It's a goal. It's something that we're striving for. But right now, I couldn't give you a time frame. It's not that set in stone because a couple things need to fall in place.
Is there any reason why the lot part of it that's next to the building couldn't be like put lines even in the dirt for that parking now?
Yeah, I think that would as a temporary. We'd have to put some kind of coating. Let me run that through the mill and
Well, I mean, it would
see.
be more than maybe
Yeah.
one spot.
Yeah.
It doesn't meet safety requirements as far as ingress, egress.
So it's just too skinny to get in there at this point. And there are issues with tearing down the one building because it's connected to the other building. And so it makes an interior wall become an exterior wall. It's not designed to be an exterior wall. It
There's
falls under the
environmental-
category of nothing simple. But but we're working on it. And to the Planning and Zoning Commission, I know Chief Walters is on the Zoom. Chief, any comments on downtown parking? I mean, everybody's pretty well behaved.
We haven't had any noticeable issues with it. I'm not necessarily in favor of identifying, temporary 15-minute parking. I think that they sit empty more than they're full, and it reduces the amount of the limited spaces that are available for regular customers. So it's a challenge. It's a historic downtown. There's narrow streets throughout our older parts of the community, and there's no quick fix to this. Regardless of what we do, it's going to have a negative impact on one of the other businesses. There's a great barber shop next door to the site. If you designate 2 of those spots in front of it as 15-minute parking, it could hinder potential customers for that business. There's a couple of drinking establishments down the block that it could negatively impact those. So I think it's going to be kind of on a first come first basis until the city's able to come up with another solution, which would include longer walks for people. I had a lunch meeting today at Bravos that I circled the block twice before I found a parking spot close enough to walk over. So I get it, but it's an ongoing challenge. It's not necessarily a bad challenge. It's just a challenge.
Since Chief Walters is on, can we ask him questions?
Yes.
Thank you. So Chief Walters, just on the subject itself, do you, as our police chief representing our police force, have any concerns about this proposal that's in front of us today that you want to voice support or concerns or anything otherwise?
Well, I'm not gonna vote, I'm not gonna express support for it. I will tell you that I don't have any concerns. The gentleman that is opening the shop has proven himself to be dependable, very safety conscious, with his other businesses that are relevant to this. We've looked at it. The simple fact of the matter is it's been legalized within the state, and it fits all the zoning requirements by the state and the city for where it's at, and it's a potential profitable business for the community. So as long as the security measures are put in place as regulated by the state, I think we're going to be fine. I've been able to walk through his other location, and he does a phenomenal job as far as I can tell. We've had very limited issues, and I don't think this is going to negatively impact us moving forward. And this is the second one in the community, and it's a block down the street from the very first one that was in. It's been twice over time, and I'm unaware of any issues whatsoever that we had with it. I'm expecting the same outcome with this. So I think it's not going to have a negative impact.
I don't know. Chief, I think you cut out, or did you finish? Your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can. You want to finish your thoughts?
I don't think it's a negative. I think if the owner continues the security conscious measures that he's taken in his prior businesses, I think it's going to be fine.
And I would add that anytime you have an occupied building, it's much better than an unoccupied. So.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Dan. No, Chief. Sorry.
Very good. So aside from that one letter that we just discussed, and I would also just point out that staff, with the Hill Street School going in, we've established a fundamental process for property owners to petition for staff's review of parking scenarios. And we've got some criteria there, but we want to make sure that there's warrants and everything in place. So we do have a measure in place if a property owner wants to pursue, but we don't have policy at this time. So anyway, that said, just to let you know, all the historic downtown is not required to provide parking because of its historic nature. Obviously, it largely developed before automobiles, and that's the character and context that makes that area so valuable, so attractive to local residents as well as tourists. So anyway, that is definitely one of those high points that Paul makes that will always be continually reviewed and studied to make sure we can provide the best possible scenarios for all our business owners and property owners downtown. That said, after this discussion, we're done with the discussion and Q&A of the applicant or staff. Chairman will open it up for a public hearing, see if anybody in the audience is intending to make a statement, and then go from there. So again, staff is recommending approval. It does meet all of the zoning criteria, distance separations we have, and we would like that approval to be conditioned upon the 12 stipulations you have. Staff report as well.
Sure.
I'd be happy to respond to any questions.
All right, yeah, we have one more question from the commission before we move on. So.
I noticed that in the motion to recommend, and it says with the following conditions. The first condition says that the hours of operation between 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. Sunday through Saturday. I know that the applicant's hours are going to be different than that, and I don't know why we as a commission would be stipulating what people's hours of operation are. So why is that in there? Why do we have any say over their hours of operation?
So that was a big point of discussion at the time of developing the policy. It's a use permit. We want to know that that we do have an idea of what those hours are. There was kind of a mixed review with council, but the existing CUP for the existing business has hours specified, and we'd follow suit with this as well. Obviously, that was something council was used to last time, so I'm sure it took them for discussion. But what staff did here is take their hours, which were less than what I placed, and then just like kind of grab another hour on the back end to give time for opening and prep stuff, and make it Monday through Sunday, if you will, versus the applicant's request included different hours, later hours, obviously on Saturday, Friday night, Saturday night, then the rest of the week. So we just did the whole, I just created that time frame to see there. So it's up for debate, but you know, the applicant has requested.
And Dana,
And if they wish to change that, they can obviously change it.
so Dana, and to the members of the commission, as I recall, there was a question whether when we put this together with council, whether 24-hour hours would be approved or acceptable. And there was, I think, a mixed opinion on council. And so there was, in putting that together, they wanted to make sure that it wasn't a 24-hour operation just because, you know, middle of the night, you know, things could be a little bit different. So that was just a decision by council. And I think those hours are somewhat arbitrary, but the goal was to say 24 hours a facility is not acceptable. So we had to put something in there.
Okay.
Is that
So I
right?
just think of the
Oh,
bar.
Linda may have some additional feedback on this. 'Cause my memory is not always the best.
And because we're looking at about downtown living, coming back into
Oh,
our historic
yeah.
downtown. So having that type of traffic would be distracting to those living in the upstairs areas. And actually there is a potential for living quarters in the second story of this building as well.
Our bars and restaurants kept to that same time, 6 a.m. At 2 a.m., yeah. Okay.
And as a person who lives downtown, on occasion you'll get somebody going by with a loud truck or a loud
Yeah.
Harley with the radio blasting
Yeah.
totally
that's way
close to
more
the sun.
common.
But other than that,
Okay, I just wanted to ask, because it seemed odd that we would put hours, but is the process easy for, whether it's this applicant or the person who takes over the building later? You'll have it forever. I'm
and maybe
sure.
we ask the applicant what,
Is it an easy process for them to change those times, or do they have to go through a lot of layers of
As
bureaucracy
long
to
as it's
change?
within these hours,
Within-
can they change their hours?
yeah, as long as it's within the framework and not to exceed.
Well, let's say they want to change their hours to 2 a.m.,
Yeah,
just
then
like a bar.
Dana, what would have to happen?
You amend this use permit, we come back before you request an amendment to stipulation number 1.
Okay, so it's
But-
not too hard of a process.
And the applicants here, we could ask them what they prefer.
It's more, and no offense, it's not so much about the present, because they've told us what hours they want to run. It's that knowing that this CUP goes with the land, we want to make sure that we're thinking of the future use as well, and I want to add CUP in the future, so. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
And going backwards is going to be much more difficult. Expanding in the future. If we're seeing problems or an issue at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., we would have.
Yeah.
And would jeopardize the stability of the permit.
Okay, Dana, is there anything else, or shall we invite the applicants up for them to speak their mind, asking questions and so forth?
Or open the public hearing, if there's anybody in the audience that wishes to
Linda.
speak on this item.
Yes, we just have Linda as well as the applicants. I'm not sure if any new messages come in, but still we could still open the. I'm sorry.
I think we have to.
Yeah.
when we open it up.
Yes, just at least a formality to open for a public hearing.
Okay. And Mr. Chairman, we see no one in the audience racing for the podium. Anybody on the phone?
No.
And I see no one in the email emailing the city. So it appears we have no one willing to speak during the public hearing.
Okay,
So Chairman, you can close the public hearing,
we shall close the public hearing.
and it's up to your discussion and or action, or if you wish to hear from the applicant.
Is there anything you guys would like to say?
I guess we'll do a good job. We'll follow all the procedures for DHS, and make sure we run a good operation for you. And our goal is to have hours for Globe so that everybody doesn't have to leave Globe to go get their medicine and come back. And we're gonna make sure that we have the same deals they have in the valley, if not better. That way, for example, like
So go. This is important stuff. Go, jump up there so everyone can capture it on the video and everything, and talk about your goals for this business.
Okay, so what we're looking, our goals are to bring affordable pricing for cannabis to Globe, that nobody has to leave the city to go, because the people that work for us in our this cultivation on 1900 East Ash, what we do is we cultivate the marijuana. And our goal is to be able to, one, provide the stuff that we are growing to the city here so people can realize what we're growing. We're 100% natural, all organic, no pesticides. And so we want to make sure that we bring in, the best product we can bring. And our goal is, just looking at, what people do, and how they can get there on time. So if our hours are from 9 to 10 at night, they're always able to come to the store and get their product, whether they work mornings or nights, and then also give them the same prices in the valley and a little bit better, so they're not gonna make, an hour drive down to Apache Junction and get their product and come back. The goal is to bring all the people in Globe here to buy the product, and that also brings more tax revenue for the city. So that's what we'll do, is provide, provide, good customer service, make sure that the people are happy, make sure that we're following, all the rules for DHS, make sure that we're following the rules for the city here. And that's our goal, is just to run a really good shop. Any questions?
Are you selling just what you guys are producing here, or are you?
No, we have outside vendors too. So what we produce right there, we'll produce our flour, the stuff we do inside. We also do a toll with other places that will run like our oil and our concentrates. And so what we do is we provide ours, and then we'll have, basically all the other brands that people want, like Stizzy, Jeters, Timeless, let's see, who else we want to bring in? Baked Bros, Yummy Gummy, just some of the really popular brands. That way they're here, and if somebody really wants that brand, they don't have to go out and get it.
Well, I definitely appreciate it, as long as you felt like you said everything you'd like to say, made your piece about everything that's being presented here.
Yes, and if you have any questions, I'm willing. I'm not the greatest public speaker, so I have a lot of thoughts, and I get up here and think as well. But yeah, that's our goal. This is my wife, Cheryl, and we've been here, I think, for about 4 years in Globe. And then our goal the whole time was to open up a dispensary here and give good prices to the city.
So you guys live here full time now?
It seems like, yes, we still have a house in Phoenix, but we're here about 90% of the time.
Okay, wonderful.
And Mr. Commissioner, the chair and members of the commission, in the first round of a facility, we did have some hiccups, and they were very responsive and worked very closely with us and invested significant money to solve the problem, to make sure that they were good neighbors. And so they work well with the city, and is good. I'll say that.
Well, I don't necessarily have any additional questions.
All right, I make a motion to approve UP-23-01 with the conditions as listed in the staff report.
I'll second
that.
Oh, Justin's like.
And
My mic is working.
okay.
I really miss button testing.
Alrighty, motion was seconded. We shall move on to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 That's it.
Alrighty, unanimous on the ayes, so motion has passed. Alrighty, now, congratulations, bud.
Thank you.
And so now moving on to future agenda items and scheduling of meetings. Dana, is that you to go over with us?
It is. I'd just like to first ask, as of now, we don't have anything sitting pending or planned to make your agenda, but I'm sure we're a week away from having something scheduled.
Yeah.
So as of now, yeah, I'm sure you probably won't be meeting until possibly the middle of March unless there's something else. And I'd be happy to open the floor, allow the commission, if there are any particular topics you're interested in staff doing some research and bring forward some information to you. I'd be happy to entertain.
Dana? Okay, all right, mind if I ask real
Oh,
quick?
yeah.
Second, so I won't forget. I think it would be fair, considering the term for holding the chairs typically per annum, for 1 year. So I think it would be fair for that discussion perhaps to come up in not necessarily the next, but an upcoming agenda item.
Yeah, I will definitely have that on your next agenda. I'll work with Shelley, see where we're at.
I thought you just had a whole year passed already.
Yes,
Oh
yes.
my gosh, you guys.
Yeah, I like that too, Drew.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, thank you, David.
Dana, I would like to see two things come up on our future agenda. I would like the commission to discuss and review zoning regulations around marijuana manufacturing and testing facilities. Those two separate things for our city. And then I would like to hear a little bit more about the strategic plan related to parking planning, because that was something I was gonna ask about anyway, and that you gave us that good information.
Yep.
It'd be nice to get an update on that, because that keeps coming up as a public
Yep.
concern. And it's gonna continue to bar us from growing. And I think people need to understand that you can't ask a fireplace to keep you warm if you don't put wood in it first. So we have to put wood in the fireplace, we have to build our businesses up.
Yeah.
And then we can look at the other parts of the infrastructure, because we can't pay for parking spaces if we don't have taxes from the businesses, right? So I think we need to keep reminding people that that's how this works, and it would be good if we had that data, that you guys are working on it, what's the plan? Does that kind of make sense?
Oh,
Keep it
yeah.
Front and center, but in a proactive way, and that way, when it keeps coming up, we have that ability to say, we're working on that, here's where we're at with it. But it can't be first, the businesses have to be first.
Right, but it is a reoccurring theme because it's a reoccurring issue, but it's like I say, it's a good issue to have.
Yeah.
And so we will, like I say, as we move through this, we need to focus. And, we have, short-term, middle, and long-term solutions. And we're hoping to get to that long-term solution as soon as we can.
But yeah, those are the two things that I would like to see on upcoming agendas, if not the next one.
Okay.
And I'm just curious, and I asked before about the clinic outside of Walmart and Cow Ranch, the medical clinic. Have we gotten any updates on that, where the big sign is, and of course now the parking lot looks like, because they've redone the parking lot all the way.
Dana Linda's going to address that.
Good evening, Commissioner and members of the commission. We are meeting with the hospital planning group and addressing some issues, some concerns that they have, because the property is in the flood zone. And so they're still in the design and engineering phase, but it is moving forward. So no, we don't have anything to announce or share yet.
No, I just people keep asking about it, because number one, they were all thinking the clinic was going where Cow Ranch is.
Oh,
So,
yes.
because of the way that, just, that's how that worked out. So people keep asking, and I just, I'd say that I didn't know what was going on, so it'd be nice to say that the engineering problem, but that it's still moving forward.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And a quick to the chair and members of the commission, a quick side note, the Cal Ranch grand opening is tomorrow at 11. You're all invited and everyone is invited. So we're excited about that.
And then Dana, maybe at the next meeting, could you update us on that gas station, the Marathon sign, that they have a different sign than what we approved?
They're waiting for engineering or something on that
Is
one.
that what it was?
Yes.
I can do that right now.
Well, please do.
Go ahead.
Yes, they're making the application for the permanent signage. That's a temporary sticker that's up there.
Okay.
I got all documented. We pushed this week to get them to get it, their signage. They thought it was actually submitted. So that I believe we received payment and everything else, so we should be able to permit that, get them moving out.
The other side that we okay is, I'm looking forward to that one being the same.
There's also the pizza Hut sign.
Oh, there is that. I don't think the truck's gonna do that, time to knock it over.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know in our last meeting, we mentioned commercial landscaping standards, potentially being something we can review. And some of these open months we might have coming up.
Yes, Justin, I'll touch base with you offline.
Sounds great.
What we did get to go ahead, they start to prepare some framework.
Okay, well, I think I've asked all the questions that I need to ask. Anything else by the commissioners? All righty. Okay, so I guess we could move on to motion to adjourn.
I motion we adjourn.
Waiting for Justin. Second.
Ben with a little low right now. Motion has been seconded. This meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.